Good afternoon everyone, it's me Jenny and it's time for another Jenny Likes Children's Books opening credits. Today is going to be my first true double episode of this series because I have a couple of books that I want to cover today and there isn't really a natural halfway point, so I'm just going to start at the top of the pile and work my way down, and when I'm editing I will split the episode in two, so you'll get part of it today on Friday and part of it tomorrow on Saturday. So without further ado, let's get started. More puzzle books, everyone! So, starting with this one. This is one of the ones I got around the same time as I got last week's set of puzzle books. It's another Osborne book. It's obviously a 5 instead of A4. It's half size and it's aimed at a slightly older demographic. It's very similar pattern style, drawing style, same sort of level of artistry, although it's a lot more wordy. The other ones just had a paragraph of text up here. These ones are covered in writing all the way through. It's the same sort of type of adventures. It's very fantasy based. You don't really have to believe in much realism. There's also a lot more code breaking. So that one includes Search for the Sunken City and Time Train to Ancient Rome. These are very, very similar. Again, a lot more wordy than the big style, very young Osborne puzzle books, but basically the same sort of thing, 1 or 2 puzzle per pages, and unlike the big Osborne books, these ones include a lot more word puzzles, a lot more code breaking, and that sort of puzzles rather than just find the thing in the picture. This one falls into the same sort of demographic. This is Murder on the Midnight Train, although I choose to move it slightly separately because A, the art style is not as nice in my opinion. I find the art style, if you just look at the cover, quite alarming actually. It's very squiggly and the content is a lot darker. Obviously it's about a murder. We have someone getting killed pretty early on and you've got to live on this plane with a murder. Unlike all of these ones which are, let's find some pirate treasure and oh my gosh, we accidentally travelled through time, let's go on a mystery adventure. This one is obviously quite a bit darker. Next one, and the last one of the very small books. This is actually a trilogy. There are 3 puzzles in one. There is, I can't remember what the titles are. There's one which involves going all jungly, there's one that's on pirate ships, and there's one that's in the snowy tundra. And it's all about Agent Arthur. I didn't get these ones until quite late. I think they were cast off from Cousins, but very similar to these two. Again, this one is perhaps slightly older in terms of age demographic. There's a lot more code breaking. There's codes that it took me until alarmingly recently to work out, where it's got, they have this code here and you have to use pen and paper to work that out. You've got to write out the alphabet and work out the equivalent codes in order to work out what the initial message is right at the beginning. Each of these little 3 stories begin with a coded message. And you've got to actually write it out letter by letter in order to work out what the codes are. And genuinely, these ones ask you to use a lot more natural intuition. For example, with this one here, you've got to look at the picture and using that particular picture work out how to escape. So you've got to look around and actually use your genuine intuitive code breaking. So you've got to think, well, his hands are tied behind his back and there's broken glass on the floor. There's rafters, you can't get through the door because the doors are, like, you have to actually, code break, unlike the other ones which are all just, find whatever's missing. Yeah, I like these books, these are really, really good. But they're very, very different, as I said. This one's probably the closest in terms of style to the traditional Osborne books, followed by this one. And these two are kind of in a league of their own, but they're all made by the same company. Moving on, we have Whatever Happened to Professor Potts. This is in an entire genre of books. I remember reading at least 2 others in the school library. There was a Halloween one that I remember reading. And what happens in these ones is they will show these beautiful, detailed, very messy looking photos and then ask you to solve a puzzle. So Text-wise, it's very similar to last week's Osborne books. There's a small amount of text, but again, it involves a lot more code breaking, and instead of it being hand-drawn pictures like all the other ones that I've shown so far, it is actually photos. So they're beautiful, beautiful photos. Very, very detailed, very well set up. And one of the things that I really like about these is, while nowadays I watch movies, I look for a lot of visual clues, and one of the things that you'll find in this is lots and lots of visual clues. So for example, you've got to keep an eye out for things like snakes versus eyes and stuff in this because of secret societies, and things like this giraffe is a clue. There's also red herring clues, and it's a very good way of training people to be visually observant, because there's things that you have to spot and there's things that you have to keep an eye out that mark things about characters or plot, because the plot itself is very, very simple, but I really, really like how the story progresses and how detailed and beautiful these photos are. And of course there's occasional puzzles, like there's a word puzzle in here, and there's code breaking, but it's relatively simple. But most of the joy from these books come from how beautiful the artwork is in this and how well set up the photos are.